Hi everyone, welcome to Difference Frames the World, a channel that offers a unique perspective. Please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you will not miss our videos every day. In this video, we dive into the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip that has extended over 2 years, and today marks the second anniversary of an attack by a military group on Israel in recent decades. Exactly 2 years ago, the war in Gaza broke out, when Hamas held 251 hostages, including some Americans. The war has killed around 1,200 people, many of whom are women and children. The peace talks in Egypt are showing promise. Israel and Hamas are discussing a potential agreement that could lead to a ceasefire. This deal might include Israel pulling back some of its forces from Gaza and exchanging hostages for prisoners. Still, a ceasefire cannot solve the problem. Ending the war is paramount to restoring the peace in the Gaza Strip. All parties involved must commit themselves to dialogue and strive to understand one another. The historical grievances between Arabs and Israelis are deep-rooted, not just because of territorial disputes. Other factors also contribute to the deadlock, such as cultural identity and political aspirations. On the Israeli side, the establishment of their country 77 years ago was viewed as a realization of the long-sought goal for a Jewish homeland, particularly in the wake of centuries of persecution in various parts of the world. The trauma of the Holocaust further intensified the urgency for a secure refuge after the Second World War. However, Arabs hold differing opinions, which are reflected in the varied national narratives. For many Arabs, the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 is a catastrophe, as it led to the displacement of Palestinians in millions. The British helped found the State of Israel, but it is the US that messed up the whole area. On December 6, 2017, Donald Trump formally recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, despite protests from the Arab world. He did not mention that East Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine, a state recognized by 80% of the world's countries. The United States is one of the few Western nations that do not recognize Palestine as a state, and it has consistently blocked Palestine from becoming a UN member. However, Russia, China, France and the UK all recognize Palestine as a sovereign state. China has been actively pushing the two-state solution to bring peace to Israelis and Palestinians. Still, the Palestine statehood remains a problem, as the US has the veto right to prevent it from happening soon. Israel not only has conflicts with Palestinians, but it also has clashes with other countries like Egypt, Iran, Syria, to name a few. The 1948 and 1967 wars, as well as others, have compounded the grievances. As we said earlier, a ceasefire is not the end of a war. The conflicts between the Jews and Arabs encompass cultural and religious dimensions. Israel, with a population of around 10 million, faces a significant challenge in combating the Arab world, which is 100 times larger in terms of population. America's support remains essential to Israel's survival. Without the United States, Israel would have long disappeared. Although the United States shows its full support, the concept known as the curse of the eighth decade casts a shadow over Israel as it nears its 80th anniversary in 2028. This idea suggests that previous Jewish states encountered internal turmoil in their eighth decade, raising concerns about Israel's stability. The curse of the eighth decade refers to a theory that Jewish states historically tend to face internal instability and possible decline around 80 years after their founding. This idea draws from interpretations of biblical history and is cited in Israeli public debates about long-term national security. Proponents of the 80-year cycle point to two historical examples. The Kingdom of David and Solomon, this ancient Jewish state, established by King David, lasted for 80 years. The Hasmonean Kingdom, this sovereign state lasted for 77 years. There is growing concern about whether Israel will be able to celebrate its 80th anniversary in 2028, as an overwhelming majority of nations worldwide, including most of America's allies, stand up against Israel's war crimes in the Gaza Strip. The International Criminal Court even listed the Israeli Prime Minister as a war criminal and issued an arrest warrant. As of September 2025, around 160 countries recognize Palestine as a sovereign state, and major Western nations, including the United Kingdom, France, Spain, Norway, Australia, and Canada have revised their stances toward Israel in 2024 and 2025. The military power and international influence of the United States are declining rapidly, particularly since Donald Trump's return to the presidency earlier this year. Trump tends to emphasize domestic issues. His withdrawal from international agreements and organizations thwarts America's international leadership at a faster pace than ever. The extent of U.S. influence is challenged when its potential 51st state, Canada, also resists its directives, recognizing Palestine as a state. We doubt whether the U.S. can still have enough power to protect Israel in the future. For about 2,000 years, European nations did not like the Jewish people for financial and religious reasons. That is why Israel has a strong sense of urgency, training Israelis, aged 16 and above, as soldiers, including high school students and graduates, and preparing them for mandatory military service. Israel's population is small. It can hardly survive without America's support and protection. During Donald Trump's second presidency, the U.S. has shown increasing impatience with Benjamin Netanyahu's approach and reluctance to end the Gaza war. Donald Trump wants to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, which many belligerent U.S. presidents have received, including Obama. Ending either the Ukraine war or the Gaza war would be a significant benefit for him. He did not reach an agreement with Russia to end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours, as he had promised, and there has been limited progress, so he is encouraging Benjamin Netanyahu to seek a quicker resolution in Gaza. The chance of making a deal in Gaza is high, and Benjamin Netanyahu says he may announce the release of hostages shortly. A ceasefire, which may occur soon, is only the beginning, and many things need to be done to bring peace to the region. Humanitarian efforts should be initiated immediately to alleviate the suffering of both Palestinians and Israelis caused by the war. During Donald Trump's second term, the U.S. has repeatedly expressed its full support for Benjamin Netanyahu and kept providing arms to Israel, standing on the opposition side of most countries in the world. There are several reasons why Donald Trump wants to push Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza, in addition to his craving for the Nobel Peace Prize. The most important reason is that the U.S. wants to withdraw its forces from the region, as it does not wish to maintain 3 carriers there, given that other areas, such as the Western Pacific and Europe, require more attention. The Western Pacific, particularly near China's coastline, including Taiwan and the South China Sea, has become a key frontier for the U.S. to compete with China, as Beijing is expected to have 3 carriers in service by the end of 2025. The U.S. does not want a permanent solution to end the chaos in Gaza and other areas in the Middle East, as it needs Israel to deal with the Arabs to maintain its global dominance. However, its declining military power does not allow it to allocate too many resources to this area. Competition with China now ranks highest for the United States, particularly as China strengthens its position in the Indo-Pacific region. A recent viral video showed a Chinese J-16 confronting 2 F-22 fighters over the East China Sea, according to a Chinese documentary that described the foreign aircraft's withdrawal. The Chinese news agency did not point its finger at the U.S. Air Force, but everyone knows where the 2 F-22 stealth fighters were from. For a long time, the F-22 stealth fighter has been considered the most advanced Falcon in their air, and this encounter proved it is not the case at all. It is not invincible as Americans think. China has moved forward at a faster pace than expected, which will shake the rules-based international order, undermining America's global dominance. As a result, Donald Trump wants to end the wars in Gaza and Ukraine so that the United States can concentrate its resources in East Asia in response to China's rise. Since the outbreak of the Gaza war, the U.S. has vetoed multiple times the United Nations Security Council resolutions demanding an immediate and permanent ceasefire, with the excuse that the UN did not go far enough in condemning Hamas and Israel's right to defend itself was not recognized. Even the BBC criticized Israel and its only ally, saying they are increasingly isolated on the global stage. In short, Donald Trump pressed Benjamin Netanyahu for an immediate ceasefire, not for the sake of the region's peace or the people's well-being, but for his own interest in winning the Nobel Peace Prize. From the perspective of the United States, it wants to allocate more resources to the West Pacific to compete with China. Here comes a question to end today's video: if the wars in Gaza and Ukraine end, will the US deploy more aircraft carriers near Taiwan and the South China Sea to confront China? Put your answers below so other viewers can benefit from your insightful ideas.